Eurosport drops in on the 20th World Parachuting Championships taking place here at Bled in Yugoslavia. It is a superb day, one or two clouds up above, but conditions just about perfect for this, the opening day, and we're preparing for a day of fine action here with over 200 competitors from 21 nations. This is Derek Thompson with Jane Buckle. Jane, you're the expert at this. What in fact are the flyers doing at the moment?
In this shot here, they're just preparing their parachutes for the next jump, going through the routine of checking them and packing them. That would be the pilot chute there that they're putting away, the little mini parachute that actually deploys the parachute itself. And they'll also be going through the mental preparation for the next jump, thinking about the routine that they have to perform.
How nerve-wracking is it jumping out of an aeroplane that high? Has it become second nature to you, or do you still feel the butterflies?
Actually jumping, you lose your nerve after a while. I mean, these competitors won't be thinking about the jump, they'll be thinking about jumping out of a plane, that is. They'll be thinking about the jump that they have to perform. Once you've done a few jumps, then you're not too bothered about it, but they'll be thinking about the actual sequence they have to go through.
These are the special cameras that are needed for the judging.
Okay, these video cameras here, high-powered video cameras, pick up the aircraft as it runs in at 6,600 feet, and they pick up the competitor as they leave, and the competitor has to face the camera to perform a series of manoeuvres. This is the style event, and the tape will then be taken back to a judging room later on, where about 5 judges will watch it and award points for that jump.
I love it. You've got to face the camera while jumping out of an aeroplane at 6,000 feet. So, Jacques Ball is the first to go for France, 23 years old, 2,500 jumps he's done so far.
Okay. In World Championship level, 2,500 jumps isn't actually that many. A lot of these competitors have over 4,000 or 5,000 jumps. And what he's doing here is diving down to build up as much speed as he can before he starts his style series. And there he goes, starting with the right turn and ending with the right turn. This series is known as the right cross. And at the end of it, he pulls his parachute by 2,000 feet. Wow,
he looked as if he got quite a tug there, coming down that fast.
Yeah, that probably looked a lot worse than it actually is. You get used to it. It's not a sudden deceleration, it's a slow deceleration. And it's not as painful as it looks.
Was that a good jump?
Yeah, that looked a pretty good jump to me. It didn't look like he'd picked up too many penalty points on that jump. It looked a fairly clean series.
Now, there's 6.67. What, in fact, is that on the bottom left?
Okay, that'll be his base time for the series. So from the moment of starting the first turn to finishing the last back loop, that's how long it took him. Then you'd get penalty points for not completing the turns or the back loops properly.
Another Frenchman is Eric Lauer, 3,500 jumps, 25 years of age.
Okay, different competitors have different ways of building up the speed. Some dive, the French here seem to prefer the dive. Some of the other competitors will just go straight into a tuck as soon as they're out the door. The more speed you can build up at this point, the faster you can perform your series at the end of it.
Can he actually breathe air coming down at that speed?
Yes, contrary to popular belief, it is possible to breathe in free fall. Otherwise, I don't think any of us would be alive today if we couldn't.
And a nice landing by the Frenchman. And we've got superb surroundings here in Yugoslavia. It really is a lovely setting with the hills in the background. And here he is again.
Okay, this would be a slow motion replay, which the judges can do. They can slow it down so they can see if there's any penalties. Again, 7.19 is his base time there. And again, it looked a fairly clean series.
Now, Sergei Razumakov for the Soviet Union, 25 years of age and 5,100 jumps.
That's right. This is more the normal amount of jumps you would expect at this level of competition. And he comes out, and again he faces the camera. You're not actually looking for the camera when you leave the aircraft. You're just looking for a marker on the ground, which is normally a cross, which you face. And if you weren't facing it, then you'd pick up penalty points for not doing it on heading, as we call it.
He looks a bit of a character, this fella.
I'm not sure that I like his method of deployment. I don't think I'd try it myself.
Why? What was he trying to do there?
Well, he passed his pilot chute from one hand to the other. That's definitely asking for trouble, asking to wrap it round your arm or something. As soon as you got hold of it, you let go of it. Don't hang on to it.
Wow, this seemed a bit different. He seemed to keep his legs much closer together.
Yeah, he's got a very tight tuck. The tighter you can tuck yourself up, the faster you can perform your series, the less drag you've got on your body, and he seems to have a very nice tug. But he's overshooting his turn slightly, so he'll be slowing himself down in doing that.
And now he pulls his chute out and changes it from one hand to the other. That's very dangerous.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
Christian Lüber is the next to go for France. 6,000 jumps, 34 years of age.
Yes, Christian Lübe has been competing at international level for a number of years, but I'm not sure if he's actually won anything yet.
Gathering the speed. What speed will he be doing at the moment?
Between 150 and 180 miles an hour.
Now, here he goes to start the movements.
Okay, again, a nice clean series there from Christian Lübe. Fairly fast, I would have thought.
Basically, the faster you can do it, the better.
Yeah, the stopwatch starts when you start the first turn, and it stops when you finish the last back loop. And the idea is to do it as fast as possible.
And then you pull the chute, and it must be a lovely feeling once that is over with, and just gently come down. Whoa! And this is their fourth and final jump?
Yeah, these will be the top competitors are in the fourth round, completing their final jump.
Has he got a spare chute with him just in case his main one fails?
Yes, all parachutists have to carry 2 parachutes. We only see the parachute as a way of getting to the ground safely so that we can go and perform the series again.
Sergei Lanskov for the Soviet Union, 29 years of age, 5,900 jumps. One of the most experienced jumpers here?
Yeah, he's probably got the most jumps, I would have said. Maybe there's 1 or 2 with more than that, but not many.
What was the feeling like when you did this for the first time?
Well, you don't start off doing this. You start on shorter delays and build up, and it's not until you become quite experienced that you think about going into a dive, like these competitors are. And it's quite hard to maintain that dive. It's very easy to fall off it.
It's very peaceful up there, isn't it?
Once you've opened the parachute, it goes all quiet, but the jump's over for you once you've opened the parachute, and they'll be thinking now about how they did on that series, how clean it was, and whether they got any penalties. That's what will be going through their mind.
Are there any marks for landing?
Not during the style event. That's a separate event, and they aren't combined together. They'll be done on 2 separate jumps.
So the Russian finishes and joins the other competitors who are packing up their parachutes, ready for the next jump. Goggles, obviously, you need.
Yeah, you've got a lot of wind rush, and it protects your eyes. Having goggles stops them watering. And his base time there, 6.65 seconds. That's very good.
So, the next to go is the Frenchman. The Soviets and the French seem to be dominating this event. Franck Benachot, 28 years of age, 4,000 jumps. The Frenchman, Benachot. They all jump out from exactly the same height.
That's right. The height for style is 6,600 feet, and they'll be told when to leave the aircraft by someone on the ground with a radio, so that you've got the best angle to judge it from the video. And person on the ground gets that angle wrong, then the competitor will be awarded a re-jump because they couldn't use the heading on the ground.
How many of them go up in the plane at the same time?
That depends on what aircraft you're using. We're using Antonovs here, which are a single-engine biplane, and they'll carry about 12 jumpers. So there'll be 12 passes before the aircraft comes down, lands, picks up the next people.
So by the time you're the 12th to go, you've got quite a weight up in the air.
That's right, yeah. Sometimes you're in the aircraft for 30 minutes, and that's the luck of the draw. You're drawn to jump in an order, and if you happen to be the last out of the aircraft, that's just the luck of the draw.
Well, he enjoyed himself. Let's have another look at the slow motion of the Frenchman coming down.
Yeah, in this round, they're all performing the right cross, so they start with the right turn and finish with a right turn. And if they performed the wrong series, then they wouldn't be scored for that jump and they'd be put out of the competition.
That's a good score by Frank Bernachot, and it's enough to take him into the gold medal position. Frank Bernachot wins it for France, 26.04. Second, the Russian Lanskov, 26.27. In third, the Frenchman Lubet, 26.85. Forever knocking at the door. He gets the bronze medal. And the juniors for 24 and under, it's the first man we saw. Ball, the Frenchman, wins the gold medal, 27.89, ahead of the East German and the Czechoslovakian. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back with more parachuting action here in Yugoslavia. Yugoslavia for this, the World Parachuting Championships, the 20th they've had, and they're taking place here in the delightful settings of Bled in Yugoslavia. It's quite breezy, but conditions just about ideal. Well, we've seen the men, now it's the turn of the women. With me is Jane Buckle. This is Jana Kostakova from Czechoslovakia, 28 years of age, 3,700 jumps.
Okay, yeah, the women compete in the same event as the men. They're just classified separately for the purposes of the competition, but there's no difference in what they do. And again, they're performing a right cross series here, starting with the right turn and finishing with the right turn.
7.34, that was slower than the men. Is that a good start for the Czechoslovakian?
It's a good base time, yes. There's no reason why women can't turn as fast as men, only that their body weight tends to be slightly lighter, so they can't achieve the same speed as the men.
Now the East German, Denise Barr, 24 years of age, 3,100 jumps. Determined look on the face of this girl. Let's see how she gets on.
And she obviously, she's going to go into a dive now. I thought she wasn't going to dive. We've got a little bit of haze there. It makes it very difficult for the video camera to judge it if they lose the competitor. It looks like they picked her up okay now.
What would happen actually if the video cameras did lose the jumper? Would they then have to go back and do it again?
That's right, they would be awarded a re-jump and they'd have to go and do the same jump again.
So this is the fourth and final jump in the women's style.
Yes, they will have done all the competitors will have done 3 jumps, and only the top so many competitors will go into the fourth and final round.
Isn't it a lovely day? Just a few wisps of cloud up above, but conditions nearly perfect.
Yeah, the conditions needed for the style event is you need a clear line of sight from the camera up to the competitor, and obviously cloud could easily get in the way. And the wind limits for the style event are 9 meters per second. If it's over that, then they can't jump because it's too windy for the parachutes they use.
So she touches the ground, the East German. Be interesting to see what score she gets. Doesn't look too disappointed.
And I think she'll be thinking hard about a jump at this point, seeing what she did. Slight wobble there before she goes into the first turn, but then tightens it up and gets it together after that.
6.81, that's a good time.
Yeah, that's excellent.
So Olga Lepetsina from the Soviet Union is the next to go, the 23-year-old. She's already completed 4,500 jumps. The Soviet Union really are here in force.
Yes, in the Soviet Union, if you show an interest in something like parachuting, then you get sponsored to do it. Basically, the government say you should go and parachute, and that's why they end up with an awful lot of jumps at a very early age, because they do it to the exclusion of everything else.
27.12.
Again, a fairly good time. I'm not sure if there was any penalties on that.
Jane, how expensive a sport is this to compete at?
Well, obviously I can only talk for England. I can't talk for the whole of Europe. But once you've qualified, once you've bought your own equipment and you've done all your training, then it can be quite cheap. You just pay on a per jump basis. But the initial training and the equipment can be quite expensive.
I mean, what are we talking about for the parachute? How much does a parachute cost?
It depends very much on what type of parachute you can buy. It's like saying how much is a car. Well, you can buy a Mini or you can buy a Rolls Royce. And it's the same with parachutes. There's differences in prices.
But they start from what, about?
Start from about £1,000 and go up to £2,000, maybe more.
And once you've done your jump, hitch it over the back, take it back and start all over again. And there is the result. The gold medal goes to Lepezina from the Soviet Union, 27.9. Second, the East German Bar. And third, the Czechoslovakian Korsakova. Now the juniors for 24 years and under, the females, of course, Lepezina from the Soviet Union takes that as well, the gold. Second, the French girl Glenard. And third, the Chinese, Hong Yan. Now we come to accuracy and the national women's team competition. That's the shot, obviously, from the plane.
Okay, this is just a little bit of entertainment, probably when there was no parachuting going on because the weather conditions weren't suitable. Parachutists are notorious for being able to entertain themselves on bad weather days. This is probably good training for them so they can orientate themselves in freefall.
Now they're preparing the landing area.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on there, just I think flattening out the gravel around the pad.
Now what's that in the middle of the pad?
Right, the small blue pad is what you're trying to land on. You see the little orange disc in the centre, that's 5 centimetres across. If you land on that, you score a dead centre. If you land anywhere else on that blue pad, you'll be scored up to 15 centimetres. It goes 15 centimetres from the edge of the little orange disc out to the black edge. And if you land off the pad and on the big pad, then you'll be scored 16 centimetres. And if you score that, then basically you're out the competition.
How many people can actually jump from 6,000 feet and land on, what was it, 6 centimetres?
It's 5 centimetres across the disc. It doesn't, the height you go to doesn't make any difference. And for this event, in fact, you go to 3,500 feet. The skill is not in how high you jump from to land on it. It's where you leave the aircraft and what you do with your parachute. That's the skill, and it doesn't make any difference how high you go.
And they're all coming out at the same time here?
Right, yeah, this is a team event, and there'll be 5 members of the team, and they'll leave with about 5 or 10 second gap in between each competitor. They're leaving at 3,500 feet, and the first competitor will go down to 2,000 feet before opening their parachute, and the last one will pull straight out the door. So what you've got is a stack of parachutes all open at different heights, so you don't all arrive in the target area at the same time.
So this is the Soviet team coming down now. They're third after 7 jumps so far. Good landing by the first one.
It looks like, yeah, they were on the pad there. I'm not quite sure what the score was. And this is the second team member coming in, sinking it right down onto the pad.
They're putting their thumbs up at the side, obviously get in the middle, but can they get in that 5 centimetre?
The jump is scored on your first point of contact with the ground. It looks like they all land together, but in fact a foot will go down first, and there'll be judges around the side of the pit to ensure that that does land first.
Tell us how you steer the parachute. It looks as if you pull right to go right, left to go left, is that right?
Absolutely, you steer it much like you drive a car. You've got 2 toggles which are attached to 2 control lines which go up to the back of the parachute, and you pull right to go right, left to go left, and both to slow down.
And look at the team score there, no centimetres.
That's right, they all scored dead centres, so they all managed to get their foot down on the 5 centimetre disc. That's a very good score.
That is unbelievable jumping by the Soviet Unions. They take the lead, no doubt about that. No penalties, and the large crowd that we've got here today